All right, students. This week we are going to learn the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to give you one quick example with a couple tips. Hello, by the way. I'm going to give you one example with a couple tips, and then right after this example, you should be good to go to practice. But also, I noticed from last week, I'm going to review what I saw that was most missed, which was solving for a leg, which you're not solving for C, you're solving for A or B. So you can skip that if you understand that, but if not, definitely view that at the end. All right, back to the converse. All this is saying is you take the Pythagorean theorem, which is A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and you just see if it's true. So this time you're given all three lengths. You're just seeing if they equal each other. You don't have to solve for anything. All right, so here's the example. Nothing fancy here. I don't even really have an eraser. Oh, it works well enough. All right. Okay, so the side lengths are 9, 17, and the square root of 208. Well, I can tell you the first tip would be that you have to identify the hypotenuse, and you would think that that 208, the square root of 208 is the biggest side, but that's not 208, that's the square root of 208, and I know that 15 times 15 is 225, so this number is actually less than 15, so that makes this the hypotenuse. This is going to be C. So then we write it out. Okay, so first tip is when you're comparing numbers that have a square root, you probably want to write this, use your calculator, and figure out what the actual value of the square root is so you don't think it's a hypotenuse when it's really not. All right, we got 17 as the hypotenuse, so I'm just going to use this up here, go down, that's 17 squared, that's my C. And that's going to equal, it doesn't matter what 9 is and what square root of 208 is, so 9 squared plus, don't forget your square root, 208. All right, so then we just calculate. Use your calculator too. There's nothing wrong with using your calculator with this stuff. All right, next tip, besides the whole comparing a regular number to a square root, is remember when we were doing opposites and the square root and squared were opposite, so they undo each other. Well, in order to simplify this, do not do the square root of 208 and get this long decimal and then put the decimal to the second power and then just get another long decimal. Just cancel out the squared and the square root and you simply get 208. Look how quick that was. Master had a quiz. What a nice tip. Thanks, man. That's awesome. All right. So now we are going to simplify this, and what I end up getting is 289 equals 289. And I am so happy about that. You can put a smiley face if you want. But what I just proved is that these three side lengths create a right triangle because the Pythagorean theorem is true. Folks, I just used the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. I hope that you enjoyed my video and that you learned something. Post anything in the comments section of the discussion thread if you have it, or message me. All right, we're going to go on to solving for a leg. If you're good to go on this, then, you don't have to watch it. Move on. But if you need a quick review, some of us were getting some of this wrong on the Kahoot. You have to remember, this right here is not C. The longest side is, or the side opposite of the right angle, which means it's not touching the right angle. So 10 is C. I don't solve for C. 10 is my C, equals, I can call this A or B, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to say that's A. I'm going to say that the question mark unknown is B. Sure, why not? All right, so now we have 6 squared plus B squared Ooh, my B's usually look like 6s, and I did such a good job there. So proud of myself. All right, 6 times 6 is 36, plus B squared stays there, and that is equal to 100. Now I need to get the variable by itself. The first thing I do to do that is subtract 36 from both sides. I have B squared equals 64. And in order to get rid of this little 2 up there, I do the opposite, which is square root it, square root it. The square root of B squared is just B, and the square root of 64 is actually plus or minus 8, but when we're talking about length, it has to be positive 8. And there's your little review, folks. Enjoy your day.